everyone, and welcome to another mini lesson series. My name is Nessie, and we will be going over how to do the floor clutter version of the mesh that we made prior. Um, this will this lesson will pick up right where that one ended. So we aren't going to be going over how to set up the AO and UV maps or anything like that. So if you would like to know how to do that, then I recommend going and watching that video before coming to this one. What the floor clutter is it looks like the mesh was just thrown on the floor. It's a little detail that I include in all of my meshes, and so I thought I'd show you guys how to make it. It's really, really easy. So first, we are just going to want to start with creating what's going to be the shadow piece of our mesh. And we want to I usually do it a bit bigger than the actual mannequin, and I just do it off to the side over here. We're gonna do this, and you want to try and make it to be pretty square. If it's not, then don't worry, you just don't want it to be super long or really, really tall. And it's gonna come up with a lot of, it's gonna be super high in poly, but we will fix that. Then we're going to switch back over to this tool and click on that. And for this bit, we're just trying to get it to be somewhat level. If it's not 100% level, then don't worry. We just want to be able to sim it and it just fall nicely. I usually bring mine pretty far out over here, because if it's too close to where the mannequin is, then there will be a shadow right here when we bake it. So I'm just going to make it a little bit, oops. A little bit more level here. Yeah, that'll work, it's fine. And so when we sim it, then it should just fall flat. Perfect. Now, let me switch over to this view. So our outfit stayed remeshed, which is something that you want to check before doing all of this stuff, before we move it. But this does not need to be as dense as it is. So we're going to first remesh it. And then I usually start out at 400. Okay, so that's better, but we can do a little bit better. So let's go 410, 450. Yeah, that, well, 470. We just don't want it to be, you want at least 4 on there. So we don't want it to be too far over. Yeah, okay, so 500 works on that one. You can change yours however you want it to be. You just want to make sure that you at least have 4 whole ones. So if it goes over a little bit, then that's just fine. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to freeze this piece. So Control K. Oh, we gotta select it first. Control K. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so that's gonna make it to where it's not gonna interact with the fabric that we're gonna put on it. And now when I do these floor clutters, then I usually will put the thing that you would take off first. So that would be the shirt. So we're gonna grab the whole shirt, and move it. We might need to make the shadow piece a bit bigger than it is. And you don't want it to go clear to the edge, because otherwise the shadow of it will not look good. And usually we'll have it fall down unless there's some kind of detail on whatever it is, then I'll just kind of put it a little bit like this. That way when it falls, then it kind of goes in on itself. And we want to Control K, so we unfreeze that. And then sim. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'll probably pick it up and just kind of drop it again, because I want it to look a bit more messy. And then clothes don't usually stick up like that, so I'm glad that it's folding over. And you can adjust the pressure on this as well, but right now I'm just going to try and get it to cooperate this way. There we go. And then once it settles, which it'll take just a second too, then you can unsim using spacebar. And then, so I like that. We definitely will need to be making this shadow piece bigger though. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to freeze it where it is. And then we're going to do the exact same thing to the pants. Now, because we have the cuffs on the pants, then I don't really want to, I'll probably want to sim it going up. And then sometimes I will have them go right on top of each other. Not fully on top, but kind of. That looks good to me. So we're going to Control K and sim. Oof. All right, and I don't really want it to lay just perfect like that, so I'm just gonna pick it up a little bit. And then kind of want it to be like that. And see how the cuff went the other way. We want that to switch. And if it won't cooperate, then we can just change the fold angle. So we'll come in here, and it is this cuff. We'll just, oops, grab both of these, and the fold angle. Let's see, orientation. Oof, oh no. Control Z. Okay, so that did not work like it should have, but that's fine. So we're probably, now that I know know kind of how this is going to fall, then I will want to rotate it a little bit. Like that. Because I don't want it to fall, well, I'll have it fall this way. And then sim it. There we go, much better. I'm probably just gonna pull this out just a bit. And you want to be kind of gentle when you're maneuvering these, otherwise they do tend to go a little bit skewampus. I want to lay a bit more flat than that. Okay, so that looks good for me. So we're just going to, well, let's see. Yeah, it does. So we're going to Control K that. And if you notice, we have a ton of extra space. So what we're going to do, we might not need to change the size of this. We're just going to move that so that they're in the center almost. There we go. Much better. Okay, so now we've got that all set. Now we need to make the shadow its own face. So right now it's part of the pants. So let's just assign it and name it shadow. And usually what I'll do is I'll come back in this view and just make sure that everything, because sometimes when you're messing with it, then the remeshing will go away. So this is just to make sure that everything is good and everything looks good. Yeah, okay. Those are just intersecting. All right. So now we have that. Now we need to sort out the AO map for that, or UV map for that. So we go to UV editor, and just like before, it's going to put it somewhere on here. I like to put it in a different window. And we are just going to make this as big. There we go. And then bring it right in here and center it pretty good. There we go. All right, so now we are ready to save this project. I'm just going to come in here and save as a new project. And I'm going to put lesson 1 for Clutter. Okay. So now we need to export it. And we're going to select everything and do the same thing that we did before. And this one is just going to be for Clutter. Make sure that we check all of that we're making sure that these are good. Okay, and I go over what you need to keep and what not to in the first video. So it's a single object because we want to keep it as just one, not multiple objects. Weld, which means it's going to, anywhere that we sewn, then it's going to join the mesh. And then thin, so that it doesn't have another layer. Unified UV coordinates, so it's going to take the UV coordinates with the object. You want this to be in meter. And then, yeah, make sure none of these are checked. And then, okay. All right, so now let's just minimize this, and we have Blender open right here. If you push if you have a 10 key, you push the 7 on your 10 key. Oh, we got to be selected in Blender first. Or maybe it did. Should we see? No. Okay, so if you push 7, then it brings it to the top view. And I'm using the Toddly Do one. You can use whichever one or a new one. And you just bring, so if you're looking at it, then there's the Toddly Do body. And our mesh is going to be about right here. So we're going to go into this one and import obj lesson 1 for Clutter. See? And this will give it enough space from the body that the body, even though it's not actually there on when we bake it, it does affect it for some reason. But this way it's not going to, because it's far enough away from the center that it won't. Now, this is something that I wasn't doing until recently, but it makes it a lot better. It makes it to where you don't have this black on the underside of these. So what we're going to do is hop into edit mode, and we're going to come over here into the materials, and it has all of our faces named and everything. That's why I name them in Marvelous Designer, so that they show up named already in here. So we're going to just go into our 3D window and push A to deselect everything. And then we're going to click on the shadow and select. We want to make sure that we're selecting the faces, just so that it doesn't accidentally intersect with or grab anything else, because I've had to do that before. And then what we're going to do is Control P. Oh, never mind. We just want to push P. So that's going to separate the object. So we're just going to do selection. Okay, so now this mesh is a whole different mesh. We can go into object. See, so we've selected that, and now we've selected those. So it's a completely different mesh. And we are going to push the M key and move it to another window. There we go. Now we just have this one that we're working on. And we will join them back together before we save to bring it in world. But this will make it to where it doesn't bake with another object there. And so what would happen if we did it was the underside, all of this would be black. And that would show through up here as well. And we don't want that. So we're going to select this, and just like we did before, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier and change it to view 2, so that makes everything nice and smooth. And then for this one, which is not something that we had to do with the other one, we do have to select which things we want, because otherwise it's going to do it all on top of each other, and we don't want that. So we're going to just grab the shirt first. So we're going to select the faces that go with the shirt. And then come into your 3D window and do Shift H to hide the pants. And then we want to create a new, because we already saved the UV map, so we don't have to worry about that. It's going to be the exact same UV map, which means the exact same AO layout, which makes it easy to texture, because then you could just place the floor clutter version on top of your other one and then not have to retexture it. So we are going to do a new and lesson 1 shirt AO map, and I always put FC for floor clutter at the end of it. And then hit OK. Okay, so that's good. And now we come back into our 3D window and we want to do Alt H to unhide. And then it's going to have it selected, so we can just deselect the shirt. And now we have just the pants selected. So now we're going to do the same thing. So Shift H to hide the shirt. It didn't open up another one. So we're just going to create new and then do the same thing. Lesson 1, pants, AO map, oops, map, and then FC for floor clutter, and then OK. All right, so then we can do the same thing, bring back that, and go back into object mode, and if you use the same, so this is a new Blender file that I pulled up, but if you use the same one that you did with your other mesh, then you won't have to do this step because we would have already done it in the previous one. But I need to do that, so we're going to set up for how to do that. So ambient occlusion, environment lighting, and then under gather, change the samples to 25. And then come over into the camera. We're going to change from full render to ambient occlusion. Select normalized. This part is completely up to you. I like to change my margin to 2. And what the margin is it's on your AO map, the texture part, you can make it extend past the actual mesh, so the actual end of the UV map. I highly recommend to have it extend past that, because if you don't, then sometimes you'll get a line on all of your seams, and we don't want that. So I like to extend it 2 pixels, which makes it pretty close to the AO map, to where at the edge of it is going to be pretty close to the edge of the mesh, rather than having it go pretty like far out from the AO map and make people have to guess where the edge of your mesh is. But so I use 2. You can experiment with this and find out which one works best for you. And then we're going to bake. And this will take just a minute. It usually takes a little bit longer because I'm recording, but we'll be able to see it come up right here. I always love watching it. I don't know why. It always looks really cool. And this looks nice. I get turned out nicely. You can see this is the front, and then this bit is the back. Because there's the shadow of the sleeve, and then the pants right here. Okay, now if we want to see what it's going to look like, we just push N in our 3D window. So N as in Nancy, and then go shading and texture solid. Ta-da! And or we could switch over to texture. But see how it's white down here, so that will make it to where the texture of the back of the shirt will actually show up right here, rather than this whole piece, rather than underneath here all being black, which is a mistake that I was making with my first ones that I did, or up until fairly recently actually. So a good portion of mine, they do have, it's dark right down here. Okay, now this looks good. Now we're going to just save the image and make sure that goes into your folder. We have that one, and here's the pants. Good. Okay, so now we are going to go back over to here. I'm going to switch back to solid, and we need to basically set up this one the exact same. So let's push 7. And we're going to, even though it's a flat plane, if we were to bake it without doing the subdivision surface, then it would make the shadow be very, very pixelated and it would not look good. So even though it's just flat, then we, oops, not solidify. We want to subdivision surface. And it is going to look a little bit funny because of the way that the AO map or the UV map is, where we have one side that doesn't have hardly any overhang from the 4 squares, and then we have one side that does. So it's just going to be like that, but not to worry, it's fine. Then we're going to bring in, we don't want to select the mesh, but we just want to bring it in so that when we bake it, then it bakes the shadow. All right, so now we're going to just come in here and we want to make sure we're just selected on this. Oh, never mind, we got to do this first. So we're going to select all, new, and lesson 1, floor clutter, shadow, floor clutter. Because it's not an AO map, it's actually going to be a shadow, and I'll show you guys how to do that. We now do that, and it's showing up black because it's black on the, it starts out black. So if it comes up like this, that means you did it right. Okay, now we can go ahead and bake it. And it's just going to be baking the shadow portion. So it should be fairly quick. And I'll show you guys how to remove the white so that it's just this. All right, there we go. So now we want to come back in here and remove the subdivision surface on both of the objects. So we want to remove that. And now we want to, just to this object, so before we join them, then just to the outfit portion, we want to solidify. And for the floor clutter, then I always do 0.0001 just to make it really, really thin so that none of the pieces are coming into each other. So there we go with that. And now we are going to shift and select the shadow portion, and we want to Control J. So we just join them together. See? Now they're one mesh. Okay, and we are, once we save this, now we are ready to export as a default. So if you weren't here for the previous one, then we have to do selection only and apply modifiers. And we're just going to name it lesson 1 floor clutter. All right, there we go. So now we've got that set. The only thing that we need to do now is, we need to go into that folder. Yeah, so we're going to go to lesson 1 and find the shadow. There's the shadow. So if you don't have GIMP already installed, you will want to install it. This is the only thing that I use GIMP for, but it's the easiest to do this with. So we want to open up the shadow texture with GIMP. And just bring that over here. And GIMP right here. Oh, while that is opening, then we will want to save this. Save as lesson 1 clutter. Okay, so now perfect timing. It just opened. So now you have it right here, and you just go over into layer and transparency and color to alpha. And then push OK, and there we go. And then I just overwrite it. You don't need to do that. I've never had an issue with it, but yeah, so I just overwrite it and then it's good. And discard changes. Okay, now we are ready to bring it into SL. So I'm going to upload mesh model, and we want floor clutter. And just like before, we're going to lesson 1 floor clutter, and then 1,000, 10, 10. Calculate weight and fees, and it doesn't, because it was never rigged, then it won't show up as a rigged object. So we don't need to go in and remove the rigging like we did with the hanging display. So we're going to upload. So it's going to be less than 1 prim, which is good for us. So let's just put that there. And now we have a floor clutter version. We're just going to quickly upload the other, oops, that one and that one. Oh, we did that one. We don't need to upload the UV maps again. If you're only doing floor clutter, then I would highly recommend, and you're selling it full perm, I'd highly recommend uploading these, the UV maps as well. Okay. And we can just drag these right in here. And I like to keep them separate, so I will do, especially if I have a ton of different things. So if I'm sizing to all of the bodies and there's a lot of maps, then this comes in handy a lot. Oh, we don't want that though. That's the untextured one. So we'll just quickly throw this on there. And we'll grab these. So we want shirt. Uh-oh. For some reason, it did not keep it did not solidify. So let's delete this and see what happened. Okay, I know what happened. So we do have to join them or select the bottom piece, the shadow piece, and then this. But because we did the opposite, then it negated the, well, let's see, Control Z. There we go. Yeah, okay, so it worked right there. So now if we do that and then we do Control J, then it will keep the solidify. So that's what happened. Sometimes these don't turn out easy. So now we're going to export auto default, and then it should just default to have the selection only and apply modifiers, and we're just going to save over that one. And now do the same thing. So build, upload, mesh model, same thing. So lesson 1, Clutter, then 1000, oops, 10, 10. So this one is going to be a little bit more because it is now solidified, but I don't believe that it will be more than one. Yeah, okay, we're good. So it'll be one prim. Upload, and just to show you what it looks like, we're gonna just quickly res out a prim. And blank. There we go. So right now it looks kind of the same. Second. This will let you see a little bit better on what each thing is. We have the shadows of the trees. That's cool. So shadow. There we go. I'm going to turn that full bright so you can see a bit better. And then select face. This is the shirt. And then we have pants. Uh-oh. It is not wanting to load. Sometimes it does this. Okay, there we go. Uh-oh. There. All right. See, so now we have floor clutter. And then because it matches up with these, then as soon as, like when you're texturing in Photoshop, then you can just place this one over this layer in Photoshop, and then it will put all of your textures on it. So it makes it super easy and a cute little detail that I enjoy. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this lesson, and I will see you guys next time.